What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be previewing Hacktivity Volume 1, published by Acolyte Cooperative Board Games and designed by Stéphane Vachon. Now, this is a really cool preview copy because it is from someone that is local. And I'm going to now let Julie tell you more about the game itself, but I'm pretty excited to let you know a little bit as to what you'll be doing in the game in just a moment.
Well, first of all, we want to thank them for the preview copy. We appreciate it. We want to remind everybody that our opinions will remain our own.
Exactly.
So this is a cooperative game that's for 1 to 4 players. It's for ages 10 and above and plays in 15 minutes per player. And that we found is very true.
So far, we're going to be playing a 4-player game right now, and we'll see how that holds. Because typically when you're playing a board game, once you get to those higher player counts, that per player thing starts to go out the window. So let's talk a little bit about Hacktivity and what's going on. This is a cyberpunk game. It is a future where, people are plastic, cybernetic parts, and you're interfacing with the internet. Now, what's going on right now, there are some anomalies and weird things going on the internet, so you've joined an organization that is going to be stopping these things and trying to essentially save the internet. To do that, you're going to have a deck of hero cards. You're going to be playing from that deck of hero cards. You've got abilities, and you'll be triggering up and down. You've got these different anomalies that you're going to be defeating, sometimes discarding or placing them into that center board there where you'll be able to trigger those abilities against them. So that's just a brief overview. I will be taking you through a full turn or two of the game in just a moment. And if you do decide to skip that over, don't worry, we'll cover that a little bit more in detail when we get to our review. But you've got a taste of it, you know what to expect, and hopefully it's got you interested to continue on this journey through cyberspace with us.
So on that note, we're going to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and fellow hacker.
We're going to take it to the table one more time.
One more time. Let's defeat this Energizer.
Yeah, I got the girls going. Let's see how they do.
All right. Now I'm going to teach you how to set up and how to play Hacktivity. Just so you know, the board is very wide, so I'll be sliding the board back and forth a little bit for the setup portion. There'll be some stuff that is off camera, but it won't be that important for what we're going to be doing in terms of teaching the game. For the antivirus play area in the 2-player game, you'll be blocking off this section right here. You're going to be setting the cubes all at 0. Then you'll be picking an alpha virus, setting it in the first spot, and the health will be dictated by the scenario. You're going to put out whatever the main anomaly is in the scenario. You'll set it up with its health at the proper value, the tension level, and then what you're going to do is take the appropriate cards, anomaly cards here, for the amount of players, shuffle them up, and place them next to the board, and you want a discard pile for them. Now we'll just slide the board over because I want to bring the other half of it into view. Now, you'll read the scenario, and then depending on the amount of players, you're going to set up the alert area as follows. This is the the area for 2 players when you're playing the first scenario with 4 tracks starting at C4, D3, E3, and F2. You will then take the alert cards for the corresponding number of players. In this case, it is 2, and placing that on the board. They will eventually be placed into the anomaly deck if so required. Now, as the core portion of the board is going to be the antivirus and interacting with the anomalies, I'm going to be moving this board over. Now, you can see part of the alert board, and this is the part that I'm going to use, even though I should be using the first track. I don't believe you can see it. I think it's just off camera for the how to play. Now, what you're going to need to do is pick your player characters. For a 2-player game, it's recommended to have Artemis and Blast. You can do Dr. Power as well, I believe. Cyberlink is absolutely recommended for 3 to 4 player games. He's just more complicated, so a 2-player starting game of Artemis and Blast should get you going. Now, I'm going to be placing Artemis as the second player, Blast is the first player because of the initiative value on their card. See, Blast is listed as 0-3 and Artemis is listed as 0-4. You're going to want to be activating in initiative order. Now, what you will be doing on the turns is very simple and straightforward. You will be drawing cards from the anomaly deck, as well as from your hand. You must play every single card in your hand. Well, sorry, from your deck into your hand, you must play every single card in your hand on your turn. So be strategic. Once you're out of player cards, you're out of player cards. To win the scenario, you do have to go through every single anomaly card. You have to ensure that this does not get to the same level as that cube. You also want to make sure that your health does not go down to 0. If any of those things happen, you will lose the game. Also, if all of the alerts end up at the top, well then it is game over. You can even tell by that little X icon. Whereas over here, you can't quite see it, but there was, I'll slide this over just a little bit. There's a reminder as to what to do to place those alert cards into the anomaly deck. So there you have it. When it comes to the symbols and things like that, these are all detailed on this reference card. We are not going to go through every single one of them. We're going to go through 2 rounds of the game because it plays rather quickly, and just to showcase some of the strategy. Now we're starting out, we've got an antivirus, a virus or anomaly already in there. Blast is good at clearing viruses, but I'm only drawing 3 cards. So I'll be taking one of my player cards into my hand and drawing 2 anomaly cards. Now, all players are going to be doing this simultaneously. So as you can see here I've got Union and Nemesis. Now, they have different effects. When they are played in the middle, it will be this effect, and this is their health value. When you discard them, this is the effect that triggers down there. Now, just keep it in mind, you will need to discard some anomalies. In terms of what I've got 1, and so that lowers the alert level by 1, does 1 damage. This raises the alert level by 1 and does 4 damage specifically to the main virus. So that's what we got here. In the case of Artemis, she's only going to draw 1 and draw 2 of her hero cards. So she can hit that main virus as well. So she's got some good stuff that she can do. Now, one thing to note, the rules do say do not tell your other players what specifically you can do. You want to communicate, but it's not an open information game. Keep that in mind. So we start with Blast. And we can take down that CPU. So discarding stuff is a possibility. And we don't want to discard this one. So the first card we're going to play is play this to the area, set its health to 4. And it does let us deal a damage though, so we'll deal 1 damage to this alpha anomaly. We'll discard this one instead of playing it into the antivirus area, just because its effect is not that negative right now. It increases the health of 1 of these anomalies by 1, and increases the health of our big bad by 1. So this purple track goes up by 1. We'll put this health back up. And then I've got my card, which I have to play. I can either play for the 1 damage or to hit the big bad and raise the alert level, triggering the lower ability. Sorry, I know that it gets out of focus a little bit when it gets close to the camera. So I'm going to put this on the lower one. We're going to raise the alert level. So I'm just using this track because it's what's most visible, for example. Raise it by 1. Hit this by 4. So it goes down to 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're in pretty good shape. It is now Artemis's turn. There's stuff that she can do. Now discarding this one is not that bad because it will deal a damage, but she'll take 2. But that's what we're going to do. Discard this. She'll take the 2 damage. Now your starting health is 3. I believe I neglected to mention that. So she's going to go down to 1. Now what we want to do is heal. So we're going to use the we also need to deal that damage. So we'll hit the alpha anomaly, which is good. So we're going to raise the alert level by 1, deal 1 damage, and then that raises your firewall by 1. So that's the healing that we're able to do. So this goes back up by 1. Not sure if you can see it. Defeat the alpha anomaly, clearing some space in the antivirus port. That's the only way to do it, is defeating them. Then with this last card, I'm going to lower the alert level by 1. So I hadn't taken it up. So it would have gone up and then gone back down. We've now completed 1 round of the game. Tension level is still 3, meaning we're going to draw 3 more cards. In this case, Last, we'll draw 2 cards and 1 virus. So here's what we got. Next, we'll have Artemis draw 2 viruses. And then Artemis will draw a single card. Now, don't forget when you're playing your hand, you can play it in whatever order you want. We got to deal some damage. We want to play some stuff. The discard effect is nasty. It's raise these anomalies by 3. It's only 1 damage, something we can take. So we'll put that in here. We shall take a damage. We've got a few different options. We're going to use the big hitter. Or we could lower the level and raise. So we're going to use the big hitter here. Sorry, I'm playing on the wrong spot. So this is raise the level by 2, deal 3 damage, and deal 2 damage. So this would have been set to 2. Raise the alert level by 2. Deal 2 damage to one, and 1, 2, 3 damage to the other. And then last thing I got here, I can deal 1 damage and heal by 2, but raise the alert level by 2. Now I'm going to do it just because I want to showcase one of the different parts of the game. So if I do that, this will then go up. Now, as I said, if this was the last column, bad news for us. And don't forget, I started with a column that's a little lower than than the first one. But in any case, this was the first column. It'd go over into the alert spot, and then this card goes somewhere in the middle of your deck. But lo and behold, we got rid of the anomaly. So Artemis' last turn. There's different stuff that we can do. So this one, you'll notice she's at 2 health. Not something that we can do. So we'll have to play this at the antivirus board, or the option would have been to play this first to get some heals off, which wouldn't actually be bad. And this split symbol here means it can be between players. So you could heal yourself and blast, for example, or just yourself. At this point, if she's going to take 2 damage, which might be the smarter thing to do to lower the alert level, heal by 2, take 2 damage. And then instead of, you can affect the alert level, but this thing's not that bad. You can just put it into your antivirus board and play like that's going to continue until you lose or until the deck of anomaly cards has been depleted and you have now defeated the scenario. After that, you'll continue reading the story and go on to a new scenario, getting some upgrades and new enemies. So there you have it. That is an overview of how you're going to be playing Hacktivity. Now, keep it right here as Julie and I come at you with our thoughts on this Kickstarter game. So, Julie, what did you think of Hacktivity Volume 1?
Well, as you can see, especially if you watch the component portion, but if you can see a little bit on the bottom of the screen, it's got some good table presence. I can appreciate the futuristic look with the plastic and the plastic cubes.
Plasticized board. It's got a little bit of that. I don't know if it's the pre-production feel or that plastic feel. But I like it. It suits the theme of, cyberpunk. Metal, plastic, wires.
The bolts, the different colored plastic cubes. I think every time there's colored plastic components, I get pulled in. So that being said, I really like the components.
Hang on. There's one thing this is missing, though. If you really want to suck her in, it would be painted miniatures. Not that it needs miniatures, but she does love her painted miniature.
I'm starting to have a little something for acrylic standees, too. So in any case, the production value is good. I like the feel of the cards and all that. Even, sometimes when you look at pre-production, it's not the greatest, but already at this, it's nice feel and it's a nice cards. The artwork, though it's more colorful than some of the other cyberpunk stuff we've seen in the past, it's not really my style, but I can appreciate it. It's got the right color palette for me to enjoy it. It's got some purples and blues. So
what I like about the art is I feel that it's more inviting, more open. It seems like it's a little bit more like comic book style, and it feels like you're becoming heroes and being heroic, as cyberpunk is traditionally, dour, dark, Blade Runner, Shadowrun, things like that. I feel that this art and the color palette really does suit what the game is trying to accomplish. But that being said, I do agree with Julie. It's not my favorite art. I mean, I love anime style art, and when you're talking about acrylic standees, it makes me think of Tokyo Sidekick. I think something like that, like anime art, would fit perfectly with this. That being said, I do like the character art a lot, but not the huge fan of all the art, but it's not a detractor like Firefly over there. I think it's very fitting, and it's something that, for the most part, I enjoy.
So as for the gameplay itself, I have to say we played it. We played it at one character each, and we played it at 4 characters, so 2 characters each. And we played a lot of games, cooperative and not cooperative, where we played 2 characters where it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to handle 2 characters. And in some games they're better for it. I'm thinking of Aeon's End. But I
think Aeon's End's easier at 2, but we just have more fun at 4.
Yeah. In this case, we realized halfway through the game that we were making a mistake with the initiative. We weren't following the right turn order for the players. That did end up having an impact. But that being said, I think we had more fun playing 2 characters. At least I did. And I could really appreciate the fact that, it really is 15 minutes per player. So when we played the 2 characters, it was right around the 30-minute mark, which, given the time crunch we have in our lives right now, I can definitely appreciate. The only other thing I would say is, there's a lot of randomness in this, in the sense that...
Just to interject, what I'd like to do is, because I finished the randomness, but before we go a little bit further, I'd like to just review the gameplay in case people skipped over the gameplay section of the video.
So the game is pretty random in the sense that all the it's all card based. So the way you shuffle your deck, the way each of the character decks comes up with the different powers and cards, they can come up into completely the wrong order that you need them for the type of viruses that are coming out. And, when you play them in the right turn order, they can help each other out. But from your own player, when you're trying to play a character a certain way, the fact that it's that random, that's the game. It's part of the game. But, it's a lot of randomness for me. And I can appreciate it sometimes. In this case, I got a little frustrated with it a couple of times. You also don't really power up your character at all in this, which is a thing that I tend to like to do.
Well, you weren't there when I set up the second scenario. You get an extra card, so there is some progression from scenario to scenario, but definitely not the level that you typically enjoy. So let's talk about the gameplay quickly then, just because we're talking about the randomness, and I think it just helped to bring some clarity to what's going on the board. This is the alert level, which can make you summon extra viruses that you have to defeat. This tracks the health and everything going on with the big bad. I was actually playing around with this. This is your tension level, which makes you draw cards. But the core of the game is this. You're going to be drawing viruses. They have a health value. They have sometimes negative effects at the top, which will only trigger if you put them in the antivirus board, which is when you can fight them and defeat them, or not really viruses, anomalies. They have this negative effect, which will hit you if you discard it. This one is very bad, which is why I ended up on the antivirus board. Then what you're going to be doing is playing some of your other cards from your end, your hero cards, either triggering the top or bottom effects, and there are 2 discard sections here. One that says you triggered the top effect, one that says you triggered the bottom. Now some of those may push that alert level up. Those are the heavier and higher hitting cards that Julie was talking about. Now there is a specific initiative order. Each character on the back has a number, and this just tells you what sequence you should be playing in. And there's also some recommendations as to which characters you should use at lower player counts. The goal is to go through the entire stack of virus cards, and once it is depleted, you will have won the game. Strategy wise though, you will need to discard some of the viruses and suffer those negative effects. You can't kill them all.
Right, so there is some strategy to it. You can't just try to get out of this unscathed. You really do have to work together, especially since you have to pick different quantities of your character cards or the virus. And
Oh yeah, sorry, I neglected to mention that the tension level tells you how many cards you have to draw each round. So at the end of the game, it was 5 cards per round per player. And you got to do that mix of what Julie mentioned, hero cards and anomaly cards. And you have to play your entire hand, so nothing gets to carry over.
I mean, so for me, it's definitely got some strategy. There is a little bit. It's a little light on story, but there's a little bit of story to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that in the final version. What I can say really about what we're seeing in terms of the gameplay here feels very finalized. This could be like almost ready to print. I'm happy with the quality that we have in front of us. So that's good for Kickstarter backers. And if this is a game that's like, looks like it's ready to go and doesn't need too much more development time and tweaking. We have some of the story that's in the scenario books already, even though we only have scenario 1 and 2 that we got to play. And I do agree with Julie, the randomness is definitely there. I did feel that once we started playing the game with the proper initiative order, that some of that started to get mitigated. Having Cyberlink set some stuff up and Dr. Power being able to knock them down definitely worked well for us in the later stages of the game. And the strategy is definitely key, because this last game we actually lost on the last card. If we played it just a little bit better, we would have been able to survive. We actually walked the game back just a little bit to see if there was some strategy that we potentially missed, just because we were at the last round and there was a few things that we could have, actions we could have changed that would have allowed us to still survive. Basically focusing more on beating up the big bad, the main enemy, instead of cleaning up some of the viruses or dealing some damage to the virus that ended up being, just wasted in that respect. But Julie is right. In terms of her character here, Cyberlink, like she can link other viruses together, and those cards would very much come together very much in the beginning, where they were very useful, and very much at the end. So that was not the most fun. And I found that with regards to Dr. Power, he was fairly balanced. Blast at this point was just okay, and Artemis, I didn't seem like you had too much difficulty, but I definitely wasn't getting blast cards in exactly the order that was the most useful. Had to discard my best one too, and oof, that hurt the heart a little bit. But I like what we're doing. I like the fact that the gameplay is simple. It's very much a 15-minute game. You have your deck of cards, very easy to set up, plop the boards down, put the cubes in the right spot, add a few cards from the scenario, you're ready to go. The fact that the cards here are all numbered, like A1, A2, A3, A4, makes it incredibly easy to set up the right viruses for the right player count, which is just, I think, very, very well done. So, have to say, like the state that this game is in, looking forward to seeing more. We've got a nice taste for the game. We played scenarios 1 and 2. I'm not sure we're quite ready to give a full score of it. I'd like to see a little bit more as to what's going on from the Kickstarter and potentially get this back to the table.
But I think if you like cooperative games, this is an accessible game that can be played with a lot of different types of gamers. And I think it's also a good intro game for a game night. It's not that long, so it's possible to get things started.
Yeah, this plays in 15 minutes. We've played this multiple times. We've been
per player. 15 minutes per player.
15 minutes per player. Sorry, it's hit that mark more often than not. It's been very consistent. That's something that we've learned to appreciate, especially with all those lying boxes out there. Well, it's 60 minutes, 3 hours later, we're still going. Now, it will definitely vary at the player count, but if there's a couple of you, 3 of you there, and a couple of people are late for game night or they got there early, you can take this out, get to the table, get a few games in, and warm yourself up. Or even if people arrive and you're still playing, there's probably not going to be that much time left, so it won't be that hard for them to maybe, go prep the next game. When you guys are done, things will be good to go. So I do like where this fits in a game collection, very much so.
Okay, you're done?
I'm done.
Okay, so it's time to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have some more content for you.
And take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see some pictures of Julie and I playing Hacktivity, there will be plenty on those feeds. Also down there is a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. Click that link, you'll get 10% off your next purchase, and a portion of that purchase will be returned to us, and then popping up in front of us will be links to some of our previously released videos. Over here will be our most recent release. In front of Julie will be our review and how to play of another Cyberpunk game, Shadowrun Crossfire. On that note, we are now going to
grab our drink,
grab our best friend and fellow hacker.
Okay, keep playing games.
Keep playing games. Eager to see what's coming next for Hacktivity.